Hello, my name is Maximilian Muntean and I'm a business solution consultant at btProvider. Today I'm going to present the functionality of animations introduced in Tableau version 2020.1, and we will demonstrate this on a bubble chart to highlight the evolution of fertility rate versus life expectancy versus population and do a correlation between, let's say, more developed countries versus less developed countries. The idea of this analysis came from Professor Hans Rosling, who was a Swedish physician and academician and public speaker who promoted the use of data analytics to explore development issues. We will use a data source which contains fertility, life expectancy, population, for each country of the world, ranging from the 1960s to 2017. To create the bubble chart, we will do the next, we have to do the next activities. Let's put the life expectancies on columns. Let's put the fertility rate on rows. I think we should actually swap them. So Tableau by default aggregates the data into a single point. The default aggregation for these measures is set up to be average. And if we actually want to put the countries on these graphs, then we'll need to get the country name and put it on the details marks. Here are all the countries of the world. Let's first set up the graph to scale to on the full screen. And let's add the continent on color and the population on size, and change the marks from automatic to circle to fill circle, and let's reduce the opacity to, let's say, 50%. The reason why we reduce the opacity is to make sure that, let's say, countries having a larger population do not cover the countries having a smaller population. Let's extend the size. And now what we have is a graph which is applied as an average over all the years in the data set. If we are to select a single specific year, we can either put it on filters or put it on pages. The reason why I put it on pages is because we will want to use the functionality of animation. To make sure that animations are enabled in Tableau, we need to go to Format, click on Animations, and make sure that they are on. And now what we see is that in the 60s, the actually less developed countries had a much higher fertility rate and lower expectancies. So basically we can see that these countries have roughly a life expectancy of 40 years, while more developed countries are grouped together around here with a lower fertility rate and a 70-year-old life expectancy. Fertility rate is actually an average as a measure, but it represents the number of children a woman is expected to have in her lifetime, while the life expectancy is the number of years that a person is supposed to live. And now we can basically view the evolution of these measures. Just to give you a bit of more insight, Professor Hans Rosling applied this experiment on his students, and he found that there was a misconception that lower developed countries have a much lower life expectancy, which basically, as you can see here, in the 60s was quite true. Let's see, however, how things progress up to current day. If we press the play button, we can notice a few things. So in green we have Africa. In blue we have Europe, and we can see that Asia and the Americas all tend to group together to a higher life expectancy and lower fertility rate. Even after the 90s, the African countries tend to also move towards the same life expectancy and same fertility rate. So they are still a bit behind, but it's very clear that the movement was there. So by using the functionality of animation in Tableau, we could very easily observe this evolution. Of course, there's much more insight to be obtained from the same. So basically, there are events which can move countries forwards or backwards or hold them back depending on external events, for example. One of the very interesting countries to highlight the same is Romania, for example. Let's move things slower and we can find something that is, let's say, somewhat of an anomaly if we don't know the external event. In 1966, we were basically in the same fertility rate of everybody. However, in 67, we moved back a bit. So basically, the fertility rate went up significantly from 1966 to 1967. The explanation is that during that time, Nicolae Ceausescu, the dictator, signed a decree to ban all kinds of ban abortions and ban contraceptives. So basically, in '66, we had a fertility rate of under 2, 1.9, when in 67 we went to 3.6. So external events can be very easily viewed here, as well as this takes out the misconception that the level of development in countries is directly proportionate with the higher or lower life expectancy. Thank you very much for your time. We hope to see you soon and every week as we publish new skill pieces on btProvider.com. Have a nice day and we'll catch you next time.